We're going to talk long range spodding now, and before I get into actually doing it, I want to talk to you about the kit, because that's really, really important. I'm all for making the job as easy as humanly possible, so all my stuff is perfectly balanced to go out an extremely long way. And people watch me spodding and say, I can't believe how far it's going. Pick up the kit and use it yourself and you'll be getting it the same distance. So first of all, the reel, you can see I've put that one through its paces. Everyone says you ruin all your tackle. I say I'm using it. It's got spod mix all over it and what have you. That's a Daiwa emblem spod, made just for spodding. Got a very, very fast retrieve. 75 turns brings the spod in 100 yards. A normal fishing reel, 105, 110 turns. So if you spod 10 times, that's 250 turns less at 100 yards. So it really makes a big difference. It's got a lovely line clip on it. Let's just drop that there and turn that round for you so you can see. Turn that down there. That huge, great line clip there is going to be very kind to the line. You see I've got it clipped up at two different distances there. Really, really important on these sort of things to have a really nice line clip on the reel. A great big spool so the line comes off effortlessly. I've loaded this up with a 20-pound Dyneema braided line. Very, very good for casting, very, very thin. But you'll see when I'm fishing, you have to keep it wet all the time. So when I'm casting out, if it dries out at all, too much will come off the spool and you'll get a horrendous wind knot. So braided line, very, very important for going a long distance. And then I've got a leader on it as well. You can see those extra lines there. That's a heavier leader. That's 30-pound armour cord as a leader. Makes a very, very small knot. I use a 4-turn water knot to join the two, so that just flies through the rings, doesn't get caught at all. And moving on to the rod, this is a real specialist tool. It's a 13-foot fishing rod that's been cut down to 12 foot. So it's a 13-foot 3 3/4 infinity blank that I've had 6 inches cut off the tip and then 6 inches cut off the butt to make it probably 4 1/4 pound test curve. And what Daiwa have done is copied this blank and turned it into their infinity spod rod. So very, very fast recovery. So as soon as that spod's left the rod, it snaps back straight really quickly. The line flies through the rings really easily and it goes a really long way. So that balanced kit together is going to get you an extremely long way. And then to talk about the spods, this is a brand new one as well, the Sky Raider. You can see what we've done there. It's tapered towards the back. That means it flies through the air better, but it also means that there's more weight in the nose of the spod, so it goes really, really straight. If you've got spods that splay out towards the back, they'll wobble about in the air. Because there's so much weight in the nose, because all the bait's down that end, it'll fly really straight. No front vanes on it. You see the original spods that we did had front vanes on, we've taken those off. If it's dead calm, it does keep the spod in the air longer, but if you've got a crosswind, it tends to catch on the vanes and pushes the spod off course. So to keep it accurate, we've taken the front vanes off the front. A very high-vis nose cone, really, really buoyant as well, so you can see that out at range. Comes up to the surface really quickly, so your spod's not under the water, getting dragged along by the crosswind. So that's very, very important. And then the tails, they're completely unique. We're the first people to do this. This is a moulded tail in this, and this is not mono. We used to use 45-pound mono, but now we're using a moulded tail. That's one item, and that actually breaks at over 50 pounds, even though it's moulded plastic. And on the little pieces there, you've got a locating sort of lug that pulls into a little slit in the top. They're numbered 1, 2, 3, and these come separate in the packet, and then you just clip them in yourself. 1 in the number 1, 2 in the 2, 3 in the 3. Pull them up tight, and that's it done. And I've got a little tiny quick link on the end there. That's actually called a stick clip. It's the medium size, the stronger one of the two, and that enables me to take the spod off quickly and change the size. At the moment I've got like a northeasterly sort of blowing in, sort of in my face and slightly across, which isn't a brilliant wind to spod in, a crosswind like that, so I'm going to stick with the Sky Raider. Yesterday I had the wind behind me, so I went on to the Sky Liner, which is slightly bigger, slightly heavier, carries more bait, so I can get it out there quicker. But we'll have a couple of goes with this one first and see how it goes. If I'm hitting the clip on the reel really hard, I know I can put on a bigger spod which won't go quite as far and I'll still be able to hit the clip. That's really, really important. What I've done is found a spot out there at about 120 yards range. It's flat as a pancake on this lake, so I'm just fishing out at a comfortable distance for me, as close to the middle of the lake as I can get, because on a big lake the fish, when there's pressure, tend to go out towards the middle. And then I've just put 20 spodfuls to start off with and then kept topping it up as I've been getting action. So I'll put this down for a minute and check my spod mix. We've done this a few hours ago and I just want to see how that's sort of holding together. It's not, we're going to do a couple of spodfuls with it first of all, see if we lose any out of the back. If we do, I'm going to add a little bit of ground bait to it. So before I do, just going down onto the reel, really important when you've got a Dyneema braid like this, it doesn't hold water at all. Whatever you do, don't use a sinking braid, always use a floating one because it's much thinner. We need to splash that and get that braid nice and waterlogged, and that will stop too much coming off at once. There we go, that's nice and waterlogged now. And then hopefully we won't get any knots. And also with the rod, I'll dip the whole tip of the rod under the water and just wet the eyes, just to lubricate all the eyes up before I cast. And I'll keep doing that as I'm actually fishing. So into this bucket, just scoop up until the Sky Raider's almost completely full, and then really compress it down with your thumb into it. So all the bait goes down into the nose of the spod. Wash my hand off, and then up towards our target. Now, I've seen it's already clipped up twice here, and I know the first clip is slightly short of this mark, so I'm just going to put it out and then unclip it, just checking the line's not tangled around the rod tip. Out she goes. Right, that's just gone short of the clip there, so I need to bang it a little bit harder than that. That's just on that first clip, so I'm going to take it off because I know that's my shorter mark. I've basically got 2 rods by the island at about 115 and then 2 rods long at 120. So I'll take that out. I know it's about 3 turns different. So if I have to re-clip it up again from the longer clip, I'll turn 3 times and then clip it up, and I know I'm on my short mark. Right, just give that a little bit of a flick just to shake any bait out of the end of the spod. Whip the line up off the surface and in she comes. Just keep a nice constant pace and just keep the spod on the surface of the water, and because of the way we've done the holes, it should just fizz in nice and straight to you. So I know I've got to bang this a little bit harder now to get it out there. It's amazing how much difference it makes having the wind in your face to the wind behind you. So down into your bucket, a few good scoops, and then press it down with your thumb so it all goes into the very nose. The drop's about half the length of the rod, so the spod's roughly opposite the join in the rod, the spigot. And then check it's not tangled around the tip, and out we go. That's a better one. Keep the rod tip up nice and high in the air, dink, and that's hit the clip and fallen at 120 yards. And this is the difference on these kind of lakes, or anywhere really. Accuracy is the key. Keep it going out in the same spot. And, you know, start off like a golfer. Get it to go straight before you get it to go long. And then just increase your distance as you get more and more used to it. And you'll notice when I'm actually casting, I'm using my body weight. I'll start off on my back foot and I'll go through the cast, and my body weight will transfer onto my front foot. All that's helping it to go further. Most people, they can't cast very far because they're just casting with their elbows. If you look at my arms when I cast, my arm would be nice and straight, my right arm, and I'll be using all of my body weight as well to get it out there. Now, just by straightening your right arm a bit more and pulling more with your left arm, you'll definitely get further. It's really important to get into a rhythm, so I'm not loading up the spod with my other hand, I'm not putting the rod down, doing all that with my left hand. The bucket's right in front of me, so I don't lose sight of the lake. So I get into a rhythm and get it accurate every single time. Arm extended, out she goes. Beautiful and straight. Just hit the clip there. What you're trying to do with the spod is lay it on the surface as gently as possible. When you see the spod crashing in, you hear it from across the lake, all that's doing is scaring the fish away. And I think a lot of people ask me is, how much do I put in? When do I put more in? So to start off with, on a big lake like this, I'd put maybe 20 spods in for the first night, see how you get on. Because the lake's shallow, I tend not to spod after I've had a fish, especially at night. Normally I would do that, but on this particular lake, because it's only 5 or 6 foot deep, if you spod on their heads at night when they're feeding, you don't get any more action. That's what I've learnt from previous sessions. So I just put one lot out at a time when I don't think the fish are going to be feeding. It's sort of middle of the afternoon now, which is not a brilliant time for a bite. So I'm going to put 20 out now, and then if I catch anything tonight, I'll put 20 or 30 out tomorrow, If I don't catch anything, I'll probably just keep it down to 10 tomorrow, and just keep a little bit of bait going in. There's loads of roach and stuff in here, so all those good bits I put in, the corn and the hemp and everything, is getting eaten by the roach as well. So don't be afraid to keep topping it up, even if you hadn't had bites, but don't put loads in. Don't put a bucket in if you've not caught anything. Just a few spods just to keep smell in the area, just to keep it active. So whip that up off the surface. It's one thing a lot of people do wrong, is they wind the spod in far too early, and if you've got any sort of stodgy mix in there, you're basically, you know, the spod's not emptied properly, and as you wind it in, you're flushing bait all along the angle of your lines on the way in. So I'd count to at least 10 and give the spod a couple of shakes just by flicking the rod tip gently, and it will come up to the surface easier if it's got nothing in it. So I'll be leaning back, arm extended, body weight goes through, and out she goes. Dink. That's hit the clip about 10 yards up in the air, so that probably would have gone 130, 140 if I hadn't had it clipped up. And using that body weight makes all the difference. So that's long range spodding. You can just scale it down for shorter range. I'm sure we'll be fishing some of the other lakes during our session here, and we can show you one of the other spods, the mini Skyliner, which is perfect for that sort of delicate baiting up when you're only going short range. So, as I've said before, it's easy stuff to do. If you master the art of it, you'll be spodding just as far as me and just as accurate in no time. So practice makes perfect.